As a journalist covering the ongoing Ukraine-Russia conflict, I've tracked the intense drone and armored warfare since Russia's full-scale invasion in 2022. Recent real-world reports highlight Ukraine's remarkable success in destroying Russian assets. In 2024 alone, Ukrainian forces neutralized over 3,000 Russian tanks using attack drones and other tactics, as noted by U.S. commanders. Massive Russian drone assaults, like the August 2025 barrage of 574 drones and 40 missiles, saw Ukraine downing 52 drones and losing 50 more through electronic warfare. Ukraine's counterstrikes, including one of its largest drone attacks on Russian airfields and oil depots, have turned the tide in key battles. Drawing from these actual events, I've crafted a fictional war scenario, imagining a massive Russian assault met with devastating Ukrainian resistance, blending real geopolitical flashpoints with speculative escalation for dramatic effect. This is purely hypothetical, exploring the what-if of turning an enemy's arsenal into a firestorm and the unforeseen consequences that follow.
On a frozen dawn in 2025, Russia unleashed its most ambitious assault yet on Ukrainian defenses near Kharkiv, deploying 180 Shahed-style drones and 120 T-90 tanks in a coordinated blitz. Inspired by real massive drone attacks, such as the 2024 barrage of 574 drones in a single night, the swarm darkened the sky, targeting Ukrainian air defenses and supply lines. The tanks rumbled forward, their cannons pounding fortified positions, echoing real losses where Russia has seen over 3,000 tanks destroyed since the war began. Ukrainian radars lit up with alerts as electronic warfare units jammed signals, but the sheer volume overwhelmed initial responses. The battlefield trembled, setting the stage for a catastrophic turn. Ukrainian defenses sprang into action, transforming the Russian advance into a blazing inferno. FPV drones, akin to those in real footage where Ukrainian operators incinerated Russian tanks with thermite payloads, swarmed the armored columns. Precision strikes ignited fuel tanks, turning 120 Russian vehicles into a chain of explosions, their wreckage littering the frozen fields like in documented catastrophic blasts. High-altitude interceptors and anti-air systems downed waves of drones, with 52 shot down outright and 50 more neutralized by electronic jamming, mirroring a real December 2024 attack where Ukraine downed over half of 110 incoming drones. The sky filled with fireballs as the Russian assault crumbled into a self-inflicted firestorm of debris and flames.
The conflict escalated into cyberspace and the skies. Ukrainian cyber units, building on real successes like disrupting Russian communications, deployed AI viruses to hack drone swarms, causing them to malfunction and crash into their own tank formations. Russian hypersonic missiles retaliated, but Ukraine's mobile air defenses intercepted many, debris raining down like an actual strikes on air bases. Ukrainian fighter jets downed Russian Su-34s, reminiscent of real drone strikes on Borisoglebsk Air Base, targeting fuel and warehouses. The firestorm intensified as electronic warfare blinded radars, turning the front line into a chaotic blaze of misdirected fire and exploding munitions. The firestorm spread, drawing in reinforcements and escalating into multi-front chaos. Russian artillery pounded relentlessly, but Ukraine's HIMARS systems, proven in real operations destroying Russian tanks, unleashed precision barrages, obliterating supply depots and turning armored advances into smoldering ruins. Neighboring regions ignited as Ukrainian drones struck oil depots deep in Russian territory, inspired by Ukraine's largest ever drone attack in September 2024, targeting refineries and power stations. International borders tensed, with Allied forces scrambling jets as the conflict threatened spillover, echoing real fears of escalation amid Russia's battlefield losses, including 1,149 armored vehicles since January 2024.
The inferno consumed vast swaths of the landscape. In an unexpected turn, an international coalition of neutral European and Asian nations deployed a peacekeeping force to the conflict zone, using warships and surveillance drones to establish a buffer zone near Kharkiv. Air and ground patrol robots, equipped with AI sensors, sealed off Russian supply routes, halting further drone attacks. Ukrainian airstrikes on Russian bases tapered off as the coalition opened safe corridors for humanitarian aid, delivering food and medicine to besieged cities. Though hostilities paused, the battlefield remained littered with tank wrecks and drone debris, and underground insurgent groups began regrouping. Russia's firestorm was extinguished, but the international intervention left an unstable region, with new plots simmering beneath the surface, foreshadowing future conflicts.
On a stormy August morning in 2025, the waters around Haivan Island in the South China Sea simmered with tension. A Chinese Navy destroyer shadowed a U.S. Coast Guard ship during a routine Freedom of Navigation operation, FONOP, to assert international rights in the disputed region. The Chinese vessel broadcast warnings demanding the U.S. ship depart, echoing real-world claims of sovereignty. But the U.S. ship, equipped with advanced radar and anti-ship missiles, held its course, radars locked on target. The atmosphere grew electric, and suddenly the Chinese destroyer veered dangerously close, forcing the U.S. ship to maneuver evasively, a tactic seen in real confrontations. The seas around Haivan Island became a powder keg, poised to explode. The challenge turned aggressive as the Chinese ship deployed water cannons and sonar pings to disrupt the U.S. Coast Guard ship's systems, mirroring provocative tactics recorded in real incidents. In a fictional miscalculation, the ships collided. The Chinese destroyer's bow scraped the U.S. vessel's hull, sparking fires on both. Alarms blared and smoke rose over the waves. The U.S. ship fired warning flares, but the Chinese side mistook this as hostility, launching anti-ship drones. The U.S. vessel activated its close-in weapon system, downing several drones, but surviving missiles shook the sea. The turbulent waters bore witness to relentless explosions, transforming the area around Haiwan Island into a blazing battlefield. As communications jammed, a tactic reminiscent of real cyber attacks attributed to regional powers, the conflict spilled into cyberspace. Hypothetical AI viruses targeted the U.S. ship's navigation systems, while U.S. countermeasures disrupted the Chinese fleet's radar. In the skies, fighter jets from a nearby U.S. carrier clashed with Chinese aircraft in fierce dogfights, inspired by real tense encounters in the South China Sea. Hypersonic missiles streaked toward the U.S. Coast Guard ship, but its advanced defense system intercepted most, debris raining into the sea. Allied forces from a neighboring nation joined with patrol boats, turning Haivan Island into a multinational flashpoint where explosions and black smoke shrouded the sky. The initial mistake ignited a regional firestorm. Chinese carriers advanced, reflecting the real militarization of artificial islands, while U.S. strike groups converged from the Pacific. Submarines prowled beneath, launching torpedoes in a deadly game of cat and mouse. Islands near Haivan became launch pads for ground-based missiles, shaking the region. Maritime trade halted, economies reeled, and international outrage surged as satellite footage captured the devastation. The U.S. Coast Guard ship, though damaged, sank the Chinese destroyer with a barrage of anti-ship missiles. But the victory was costly, with heavy losses on both sides. As the conflict threatened to engulf the region, an unexpected diplomatic breakthrough emerged. A neutral Asian nation convened an emergency summit on a peace ship anchored off Haivan Island. Recognizing the cost of destruction, the warring sides agreed to pause hostilities for talks. Warships withdrew, making way for relief vessels carrying food and medicine to nearby ports. Underwater patrol robots monitored the seas, thwarting sabotage attempts by rogue factions. Though a tentative peace held, the South China Sea remained volatile, littered with sunken wrecks and disrupted trade routes. Covert cyber attacks persisted, signaling unresolved tensions. The initial mistake at Haivan Island left a stark lesson. A single collision could push the region to the brink of catastrophe.
In 2025, Gaza languished under the shadow of prolonged crisis, its landscape scarred by past conflicts. On a frigid winter night, rockets launched from Gaza streaked across the border, striking coastal cities nearby and shaking the region. In response, a massive military operation dubbed Silver Blade was unleashed, employing advanced drones backed by a Western superpower. Command screens in a nearby major city lit up with satellite imagery, red alerts flashing as the Iron Dome 2.0, a quantum radar and AI-driven defense system, sprang to life. But an opposing coalition, known as the Black Sands Coalition from neighboring regions, countered with hypersonic missiles, rattling northern military bases. War erupted, transforming Gaza into a blazing battlefield. Under Gaza's sky, explosions illuminated the darkness. Ghost drones swept through, dropping precision bombs on strategic targets. But errors led to the collapse of civilian neighborhoods, leaving streets choked with rubble and smoke. Cries of distress mingled with the roar of detonations, as guerrilla fighters, equipped with stealth exosuits from covert sponsors, moved like phantoms, wielding energy weapons against advancing tank units. Air defense systems struggled to intercept the overwhelming number of drones, and some missiles broke through, demolishing critical infrastructure. Gaza became a labyrinth of destruction, with skyscrapers ablaze and bridges crumbling under the might of high-tech warfare. The conflict spilled beyond the battlefield into cyberspace. The Black Sands Coalition, backed by an external power, launched a massive cyber attack, crippling the opponent's communication and financial systems. Command center screens flickered with warnings as a major city's power grid failed, plunging it into darkness. In retaliation, an elite cyber intelligence unit deployed an AI virus, sabotaging the coalition's military facilities. In Gaza, autonomous drones became the primary weapons, but flawed programming caused strikes on civilian areas, escalating the devastation. This technological war turned Gaza into a deadly laboratory where AI systems clashed in an invisible battle. The conflict spread, drawing in forces from neighboring regions. A southern nation sent troops under the guise of humanitarian aid, only to clash with opposing forces at the border, igniting new battles. From the north, rebel groups expanded their assault, making Gaza the epicenter of a multi-front war. A grave incident occurred when a drone mistakenly struck a humanitarian convoy, sparking a diplomatic crisis and fueling international outrage. Gaza lay in ruins, with millions displaced, hospitals and schools leveled. Hidden weapons caches were uncovered in tunnels, but the victory could not mask the widespread destruction. Under global pressure, an emergency United Nations conference secured a temporary ceasefire. Opposing forces withdrew, and humanitarian corridors opened to deliver aid to Gaza. At the border, aid convoys navigated the ravaged landscape, protected by patrol robots with glowing sensors. A rogue drone from a splinter faction attacked, but a laser defense system shot it down. Though the ceasefire held, Gaza remained a wasteland, its buildings reduced to rubble and lives shattered. Underground movements began regrouping, quietly preparing for new conflicts. The Western superpower pledged reconstruction aid, but shadowy forces lurked, waiting to manipulate the region's future. The echoes of ruin lingered, heralding storms yet to come.